Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Let me know if you're hearing me and seeing me. On just a few minutes late, but still want to deliver, some really, really interesting and important information all around personal branding. So the first thing is, I would love to know, let me just check and make sure that I'm coming up live on my platforms. I should be live on Facebook, live on LinkedIn, and of course, live on YouTube. So let me know if you're hearing me and seeing me. That's like the first thing to make sure that you're hearing me and that you're seeing me. Okay, I'm live on Facebook and I'm live on LinkedIn and great, live on YouTube. So, as I always say, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on where in the world you are joining me from. I am in Trinidad and Tobago, which is the most southern Caribbean island. And of course, it's morning here. It's about a little after 9 a.m. And so I welcome everyone. Let me know again if you're hearing me or seeing me. Um, Feel free to jump in the comments. Let me know where in the world you are joining me from. I know I always have, such a diverse audience, diverse group of people coming on. And today I have an interesting live to talk about launching a personal brand. Now, just to give some background on why I decided to do this particular live, right? So I have a workshop on September the 1st from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., right? That's next week, Friday. And it is geared towards individuals who want to really have a successful launch to their personal brand, right? Um, and people sometimes think, well, what is personal branding? Sometimes it's a touchy subject for executives and C-suite persons. But your personal brand is your executive brand, is your executive presence. It's your reputation. It's how you show up online. So if you are already in that space but haven't kind of utilized or taken advantage of your social media platforms, or you have been thinking about launching a brand and haven't done so, then this session really is about helping persons to put those steps in place to be able to have a successful launch. Now, why I decided to do this particular topic is because I do get business people, consultants who come to me asking for marketing advice, right? But really, I realize that in many instances, they just want clarity, right? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing this now? How will this be perceived? And those are the things that you have to think about when you are launching your personal brand. So again, I say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on where in the world you are joining me from. Let me know if you are hearing me and seeing me clearly as I jump into my presentation. And of course, feel free to add any questions or comments to the chat and as we begin, right? So let me just bring in my presentation. And as I said, I the live today is all about things you need to know, or 5 things you need to know before you launch your personal brand, right? As how you launch your personal brand online in particular, right? Now, a personal brand is a very powerful and important thing. I try to build my brand daily by putting out content and adding value for my audience, to my audience. And it's also a way for me to attract potential clients and the ideal client, right? And if you want to be successful in launching your personal brand and having that level of clarity, you need to do a few things, right? So the first thing you have to do, and this is a little bit cliche, is really know yourself. Know your brand, what it is you stand for, right? And why is that important? Because that clarity, as I mentioned earlier, is very important. If you are not clear on your values, your vision, how it is you want to be perceived, um, what you want to offer to the marketplace, then when you get online, if there is any ambiguity at all, that will also be translated online. And how you want to be perceived may not be the way that you are really perceived by your audience. So it is important to really get clear on what you love to do, what you love to share, how you love to um, help others in this space, because it is very important that that clarity comes through. Your vision, your mission must come through. And of course, that is again, that phrase, being your authentic self, but understanding who you are, how it is you want to be perceived, the values that you offer, how you help clients, entrepreneurs, businesses. That's very important, and it's very, very key. And actually, you should be asking yourselves, a few questions, right, before you even say, okay, I'm getting online, I'm going to put out content and do those things. So you should ask, like, what is important to you, what matters to you, what gets you excited, what do you stand for, what do you not stand for. Those are the types of things that you need to ask yourself to give yourself that level of clarity, so that you will be able to launch a brand and have that brand be very successful, right? You want to be able to really give and provide clarity, right? Again, guys, feel free to drop in any comments and to ask any questions at all, right? The second thing is understanding your audience, or understanding your target audience, or even understanding who is your ideal client. Now, this might be tricky for some persons, especially if they haven't gone through that exercise where they haven't done, a clear business plan, they haven't done a marketing plan, and you're not clear on exactly who you want to sell to, for instance, right? But this is important, and it's important for one basic reason, right? You have to know who you are speaking to. Your audience, your target audience, is exactly the people who will support you. They're part of your tribe. They may comprise of potential clients, and therefore you need to understand who they are and why they need to show up for you as well. So knowing your audience is a critical, an important part. And it takes a little bit of a discovery. You have to look at your products and services that you provide. How are you providing solutions? Who are you providing solutions to? Because that process of discovery and understanding who you are um, connecting with and who you are providing solutions to is where you begin to understand, well, who is really my audience, who is my tribe, who are those potential clients for product A or product B, etc. This is important because as an entrepreneur or a consultant, or an HR practitioner, or any, or even a sales professional, it's really important to understand your audience. It's important to understand your target audience, because you really need to know who you're speaking to, and you need to know who you're selling to, right? Most important. Again, it follows one, which is all about clarity. If you don't get that clarity from the beginning, it's going to be very, very um, difficult to connect with your audience, right? So you must have that clarity. I am seeing some comments coming up, but I'm not seeing it on my screen. So if you have comments, again, feel free. I'm going to be checking some multiple platforms to see those comments, right? So number one, going back to what I said, number one is knowing yourself. It's a process of discovery, it's a process of understanding. So you need to understand and know who you are to be able to communicate. The second thing, also a process of discovery as well, understanding who is your target audience and being very specific now for persons who are entrepreneurs, sales professionals, persons who actually rely on getting clients for their livelihood. Your personal brand must be connected to your audience, because that is how you are able to drive sales and drive revenue and grow your business. So it's critical in understanding um, your being able to launch your brand in a successful way, right? The third thing now is, of course, to define your purpose, right? People connect with us now. Advertising and marketing has changed over the years, and it's much more personal. So you have to, as an entrepreneur or a consultant in any space, really be clear on what is your purpose, right? What is your vision? What do you want to achieve, right? How do you intend to make a mark within your industry, within your country, within your region, right? Or internationally? Once you connect with that purpose, right, you will be able to again communicate that. And in communicating that is where you begin to build relationships, and build relationships online through your content, through your lives, through your blogs. This is how you begin to build those relationships, right? And purpose is important because that is what connects us, right? Gone are the days where all this glossy advertising and these ads translate in the way that we want it to. We really have to be able to tap into what is important to us, what drives us, and that is how, and understanding that allows us to communicate it clearly and allows persons to see it and allows persons to connect with it. So again, before you even launch your personal brand and get online, and think about this, when you launch your personal brand, you begin to communicate. You begin to communicate through your content. You begin to communicate through the videos you put out. You begin to communicate the value you offer through your different courses, your different programs, etc. You begin to communicate through, as I mentioned, your blogs, your email marketing, your website. These are all the ways in which you communicate, and it's the vehicle or vehicles that you will use to communicate your purpose. And if that is not clear again, you will be communicating that ambiguity to your audience, and you will find that, hey, I'm putting out content and people don't respond to it the way I would like them to respond. I don't get the level of inquiries that I would like, and that is because you haven't gotten your clarity of purpose, and therefore you are not communicating that purpose and vision. So it's not connecting with your people, your tribe, the way that you would want it to, right? So it's important to have that vision and mission, and then to actually set goals, right? Set goals to understand, well, what do I want my personal brand to do? How do I want it to translate to people? What do I want it to achieve for me, right? And that is also key before you even launch your brand, right? Before you even launch your brand, right? The fourth one, now you may need some help here, but I think all entrepreneurs and persons, lots of people are pretty savvy. And once you understand who you are and what you want to communicate, it should be fairly easy to begin to develop a strategy, right? A strategy for your personal brand. So naturally, we are coming on a line, and each of us are really in a different space. We might be subject matter experts in different fields, whether that is in engineering or project management, or sales or marketing, or HR. We are all in different um, industries, lanes, and fields. We're all trying to kind of get to where we want to go, and part of that is about planning, right? I give stories all the time that I started my business with my business plan in my head, and I didn't put it on paper until about 2 years into entrepreneurship. And in retrospect, I can see how that slowed me down because I didn't plan. I thought that, okay, I came to entrepreneurship with, experience from my professional background, and that was sufficient, right? But the truth is, we do have to plan. We do have to plan for what it is we want to achieve, right? We do have to set those goals. So developing a personal branding strategy is very important in terms of, okay, I'm about to launch, or I would like to launch in September, or I would like to launch at the beginning of 2024. What is my personal brand supposed to achieve, right? What is it supposed to look like? How is it supposed to connect with persons? Who is it supposed to connect to, right? um how am I supposed to grow my personal brand and grow my tribe? These are the questions you need to ask, and these are the answers to those questions are supposed to help us set up a robust plan, at least I would say for 12 months out, right? So that if you are deciding, or you are in a space now and you're thinking about launching that brand, I would suggest that really think about what do you want your brand to be, let's say at the end of 2024. What type of followers do you want? What type of clients do you want? Where do you want to be present in terms of your digital footprint? Um, how do you want to show up? Those are the things you have to kind of ask yourself. You have to set very specific goals. And as I always say, smart goals, right? It has to be specific and measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. So that when you review it, which I would suggest in like 90-day gaps, you could actually say, okay, this I was able to achieve this particular goal because I set a robust goal here. So it's really really key. You need to develop a strategy. You need to develop a strategy in terms of um, what you want your brand to be, how you want to show up, and it must be in very tangible details, right? What platforms am I going to launch on? Am I going to launch on LinkedIn and Facebook, right? Uh, what, how quickly do I want to grow? Does that mean that will it mean that I have to create organic content as well as maybe paid content? What does that mean in terms of my online presence as well as how that is translated offline, right? Because you don't just build your brand online, you build your brand offline as well. And it must be the same, right? It must be identical, right? What person see on the line must be translated into your speaking engagements and your networking opportunities and every time you engage with persons offline, right? So developing this plan is key, and persons might need some help. And of course, feel free to reach out if you need help in designing that plan, that robust plan, right? And the last one now, right? And I'm sure persons would say, Delvi, I didn't think that these were going to be the five the 5 spaces and the 5 areas that you need to think about, and you need to begin planning before you launch your personal brand, right? The fifth one is important because it's what I call a little bit of reflection, right? What happens to many entrepreneurs, consultants, professionals is that you get into the space, you jump online, you do particular activities, but life goes up and down. You may not be able to be consistent all the time. There are challenges in building a business, and therefore, in order for you to stay on track, you need to set times when you are actually reflective of the activities that you are putting out, right? So, building a plan and setting goals is one thing. And I know a lot of organizations set a lot of goals actually, have lots of KPIs for the different departments and so on. But do you have a mechanism in place to monitor them, to measure them, and to monitor them? And you might say yes to some degree, but are you actioning this? This is actually really, really important. It is as important as setting goals, because setting goals and not being reflective to measure them and monitor them and to see if, okay, I've surpassed a goal, or to see, okay, I'm only 25% of where I needed to be at this point in time. That is so critical and important because you want to set yourself up for success. Over 90% of persons set New Year goals and they don't achieve it, or New Year goals and it's gone by the time March reaches around. And part of it is that we don't hold ourselves accountable for the things we say we want to do. So part of the process of even launching your brand successfully means that you need to set times when you are actually reflecting, set times where you are measuring and monitoring what it is you have done to achieve your goals. And that just simply means, for me, I do it in like 90-day batches. So I set goals for 90 days and then reflect on them at that 90-day mark or thereabout, right? So then I could say, okay, I've done X amount of activities, or I said I was going to do these activities and I didn't do it, and why, right? And so when I get to my next 90 days, I am in a better space to know what is achievable, what is not achievable, what are the things that challenge me, and the drawbacks there, so that I could put things in place. At times in entrepreneurship, we need help. So that might mean, hey, I need to have a VA or someone on board to help me here, right? At times, it might mean scheduling content out, right? Persons sometimes do content in a very ad hoc way, and that in itself takes up so much of time. So that reflection, where you measure and you monitor, allows you to then think about what it is you did to get you to this point, and how you can actually improve upon those things, right? So with that, those are my 5 areas or things that entrepreneurs and consultants, aspiring consultants, practitioners, and people who really want to launch a personal brand, these are the areas that you really need to focus on before you even launch your brand. Or at least you need to have a framework or something in place for these 5 things in order to ensure that you will launch your brand, in a very successful way, right? And again, for anyone who wants to find out more information about my workshop, which is September the 1st, it's all about launching your personal brand in a successful way, with an emphasis, of course, on 2 platforms I really enjoy being on, which is LinkedIn and, of course, Facebook, right? So if you're interested, feel free to direct message me. We have spots available still. It's September the 1st, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So thank you so much for joining me, guys. You'll see me next week here, next week, Wednesday, on the 30th, with another live on personal branding. You guys take care. Bye-bye.